Hi everyone. Happy week 4. This is Ashley here. I'm sure you already know that by now. Uh, but for this week's discussion, I chose option number 1, cognitive distortions. And the first question asks, which cognitive distortions are evident in Helen's thoughts, and how did the therapist respond to them? Um, in the first part of the video, the therapist is kind of coming back to something that Helen had said, and she was talking about how Helen wants to take this course, but she thinks it's dumb. And on this, Helen has her master's degree, and she wants to take this weekend course, but she thinks it's dumb. And then the second thing was that she was feeling anxious and a little frustrated about taking the course because she'd have to ask her husband to watch the children. And if she does that and the course is dumb, then her husband, she's anxious and worried her husband will be resentful toward her taking the course. So within those two different thoughts or things that her thoughts, I first thought mind reading within her husband, and assuming that her husband, or thinking her husband, would be resentful towards her taking the course. And then the second one that I also thought was catastrophizing, and she's just like assuming this course is going to be dumb, and that then assuming and thinking that if the course is dumb, her husband is going to get really mad at her for wanting to take it and then taking it, and him having to watch the kids. So she's kind of catastrophizing it. And then something else I also thought, which I'm not entirely sure about, but I also thought maybe a little bit of overgeneralization. She's thinking it's going to be dumb, and then she's thinking that her husband is going to be resentful towards her. So it feels like that idea of it being dumb is taking over her desire to want to work on her career and working on that kickstart that she was looking for. So that's kind of where I tied in or thought maybe overgeneralization as well. And then the second part was, how does the therapist respond? The therapist responds by kind of interpreting what she had said prior, and making sure that that Helen kind of agreed with that interpretation, about making the assumption that he's going to be resentful towards me. And so she was doing a lot of interpreting there, and I felt like she was kind of reframing as well. So reframing it to the belief. So this is the belief, is that if I take this course, he will resent me. And then, yeah, so that's what I saw kind of the therapist doing. And then question number 2 is, what are the frequent cognitive distortions, or what are the frequent cognitive distortions that you have seen in your work with students and or teachers, and what are the consequences of these distortions? Man, so with kids, I've seen a lot of the black and white, all or nothing thinking. If I can't do it this time, then I'm not going to be able to do it next time, and I can't do it at all. Instead of, kind of working towards growth and working towards achieving a goal, or working towards achieving a math problem or a science activity. With that, the consequences of that is that these kids, they just don't want to try anymore, right? I can't do it. I'm never going to be able to do it, so I'm just going to stop trying. And you can see their sense of confidence and self-esteem goes down a lot. And that's something I see with that. I see a lot of mind reading, especially in the little ones. They're always assuming that somebody is talking about them, or that things somebody's going to be mad at them, or somebody's going to be they're going to get in trouble for this. And I think with that, especially within social interactions, that's where I see it a lot within the mind reading of so and so, they don't like me, they're talking about me, they think I'm dumb. Um, and that's really hindering and I think in the social sense and creating social relationships with peers also comes a lot of issues with lower self-confidence and self-esteem. And then there's also on top of that, well, they already think this of me, so they already think I'm bad, so let me just continue to be bad. So I see behaviors like that happen a lot with kids. And then the tunnel vision too. One thing bad happens for a child in the day, and then I feel like it's kind of a domino effect. They just think that all the things are negative and all the things that are going to happen are going to continue to be negative. And there's never room for, even if they're like enjoying, like even if at recess they have fun, they're still going to point out something that's negative. And they're not going to appreciate or try to see what was good or was the highlight of that. So those are some of the ones that I've seen with students. Now with adults and other teachers, I'm looking at notes while I do this, so excuse me. I see a lot of the disqualifying or discounting the positive, especially this last year when things were really, really, really challenging, as in like teaching virtually and teaching in person. I think there was a lot of good things that really happened. Like a lot of us, I think, as educators grew so much, right? And especially, I mean, I have hats down to those teachers who were doing it simultaneously. And there was so much growth on their end, but the negativity is what took over and the frustration and how hard it was and how frustrating it was. I'm incredibly empathetic to that because I understand, but I saw that a lot this last year. I think there's a lot of the personalization happens, especially with students' behaviors and how teachers coming from a behavior background and working with one-on-one with both teachers and students, teachers oftentimes do take those behaviors personally, and so teachers shut down, and they become less cooperative in the growth and in the success of the child, and it kind of becomes more like a my way or the highway because it's those behaviors have been taken so personally, and that it's never it's really sad. This year I was worked with a little girl who within a matter of 2 months she was removed from 2 different classrooms because those teachers, I think, were taking the behavior so personally and they weren't actually trying to work it out. They weren't trying to take the steps to work with her. And for me, I mean, that's just, you're just reinforcing those beliefs that child has about themselves when that happens. I don't know. Anyways, that's a tangent. And then I also see with teachers a lot, I don't know if I said this, but catastrophizing, right? Things that just become, things are a lot bigger than what they seem. Again, speaking from my experience and working with behavior, I think behavior is communication, and I think that teachers just over catastrophize it and make it seem a lot worse instead of looking at it from a lens of, okay, what is this child trying to communicate to me through this behavior? Because yes, all behaviors are a form of communication, and what is this child lacking? What skills is this child lacking in order to express their needs? in a more appropriate way. And so teachers will just catastrophize, and all they talk about is the worst of it and how it just doesn't get any better. And I've seen a lot of that. And then number three is using the cognitive approach. Give an example of how you would deal with a student who is failing and how it would look different from a student who is anxious or depressed. With a student who is failing, I'd probably use more of like a problem solving technique, to figure out why the problem, like why they failed, and maybe assign some homework from there to work on more homework to work on why they failed. But just to hone in on what happened and why they failed, and to see if we could make some modifications to what they're doing in order to build that success, or to not fail with the students. I would also, well, for the depression and anxiety, I think I would use a little bit of the guided discovery, and then with the Socratic, give me 1 second, I'm trying to look for the word. I'm sorry, guided discovery. So the client we can kind of work through what the beliefs are, the Socratic dialogue, to help discover the maladaptive behaviors and assumptions and work through ways to challenge them. And then I would probably also use, sorry, my computer froze. Activity scheduling. I was reading that that's something to use with people who are feeling pretty low and depressed, and low motivation, just helping them create a schedule around their day, and then being able to record the thoughts around that schedule, recording their thoughts and how they're feeling. I think that would be kind of beneficial, just to be aware of the thoughts that are coming up and when they're coming up. Yeah, so those are my thoughts, and that's what I would do for option one. And these are my answers. Have a great week.